It's Crystal with birthingandconsciouschoice.com. Today I want to talk about defining natural childbirth. So many people say, birth is a natural experience, but what exactly do they mean? Natural childbirth can be defined differently. For some women, a natural birth is just avoiding drugs, avoiding painkillers. Maybe she feels like a natural birth still, she had a natural birth if, say, she avoided a cesarean section or she avoided an epidural. Maybe other women define it differently. Maybe a natural childbirth for someone else means no interventions, not even an IV. Maybe still other women define natural childbirth as just more of a feeling, being unhindered, unfettered, left to one's own devices instead of being medically managed and hurried along. It's a hard thing sometimes to surrender, to trust, to believe that our bodies are capable of doing something as extraordinary as birth, because birth is extraordinary. It's amazing. Human beings are created through us. It's incredible. And yet it's an everyday type of miracle. It's an everyday type of experience. But at the same time, it is transcendent. And so sometimes people fear what they can't understand, what they don't understand. And especially in our culture, birth has been so systematically disassembled and broken down into all these mechanical type of parts by experts, by specialists, by sometimes even by people who have never participated in birth outside of a clinical understanding. For instance, there are many cultures that would think that our tradition of having male doctors or OBGYNs is a little strange because obviously men can't experience childbirth. So it is a bit of there's a bit of irony there that we are so willing as a culture to look up to self-proclaimed experts on something that they have actually never personally, physically gone through before. So there's that. So a lot of women say, oh, I want a natural birth. Get clear on what you define a natural birth as, because sometimes you'll hear people who are actually pushing. Sometimes you actually hear this from people who are, suggesting that you have an epidural, but they say, you don't get a medal for natural birth, which is quite true. You don't. And it is subjectively defined, as are so many things in life. So what constitutes a natural birth to you? How do you define it? If you say you want a natural birth, what do you really mean? Do you just mean that you want to be unhindered, uncoerced? Do you mean you want to avoid the hospital? Are you just focused on avoiding a surgical birth? Get clear on how you want to define that for yourself, and then you can more fully embrace what kind of birth you personally want and care for, rather than trying to uphold, someone else's standard of, oh, well, this is what a natural birth means, or that's what a natural birth means. Or maybe you don't even want to use the label natural. It is just a label. You could just say childbirth. You could just say, for instance, there's a movement within the unassisted home birth community to call it free birth. I find that term resonates with me better than unassisted, because unassisted, without assistance, I wasn't technically without assistance. My husband played a huge, monumental role. But it was free. Freedom was the driving force behind why I birthed the way that I did with my 5th baby. And it was far from unassisted. So again, get clear on what the labels mean for you, and feel free to, pursue what you want out of your birth, without holding to anyone else's standards, because your own standards are truly what's going to matter in the end. When you look back on the experience, it's not going to matter if you had a natural birth or an unassisted birth or anything of the sort. It matters your feelings about it will matter. Your memory of, I got clear on what I wanted and I achieved it. And therein lies empowerment, fulfillment, freedom in whatever choices you make.